Take on me.
Take on me.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And on this week's show, we're talking about that controversial Batman casting again.
I'm putting air quotes around the word controversial.
Oh, I'll tell you why it's controversial.
Okay.
We're going to digest the taste of Dr. Pepper Dark Berry for Spider-Man
I love
Far
how
From
it
Home.
sounded like you were pigeonholing yourself into the word dive, and you're like, no, we're going to digest.
Well, I was going to say disgust, and then I went the other DI pronunciation. I just messed myself up there, but it's fine. We're going to do it because we digested it as well. You know what I'm saying here? We're going to talk about the James Wan-iverse because his name popped up a lot this week and more.
Yeah, this has been a fun week. We both went to the movies, and we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But we do have, this is a big day for people, depending on when Chris gets this published and who likes to get to this podcast as quickly as possible. But the last episode of Game of Thrones may or may not have premiered already. Mm-hmm. So I thought it would be fun to do like final last second predictions before the show posts. And I don't know, spoiler culture has kind of gotten out of control lately, but I do feel like with an event like Game of Thrones, like you kind of either got to be with it or you're not, you know?
Well, I think this is one of those things, like, I've seen a lot of, like, there are the spoilers where, like, in-game, everyone kept in-game under lock and key for, like, 2 weeks or more. Game of Thrones, if you're not watching it live, you're done. If you get on the internet right away, like, even in the middle of the episode, you're done. If someone's watching 5 minutes ahead of you, it's the moment is ruined. And I don't know why there's a difference in the two, but, yeah, honestly, TV shows don't bother me nearly as much. Yeah. I read recaps all the time.
I think it's the accessibility of a TV show. Like, you're at home. You didn't have to go any extra effort to a theater. Like, it's slightly less of an experience. Like, with a movie, I feel like the movie culture is just older, so you feel a little bit more preserved. And also, you have to make these appointments to see the movie. So some people, they have to get time out of their schedule to go see it. Like Game of Thrones, you're in it, you're live, and then the second you go on Twitter, like these last 5 weeks, if you go on Twitter right after Game of Thrones comes out, every hashtag is a Game of Thrones related. Like, it's either a character's name, it's either like Game of Thrones. I think last week something happened in the NBA. I don't know what it was, but some like basketball player's name was like trending at like number 7, and then it went back to Game of Thrones characters. So it's so hard to avoid this. So this is just my preface of saying we're about to probably guess what we think is going to happen in the last episode tonight. So I don't know how that's going to leave you the taste in your mouth, but I think I want Tyrion on the throne. I don't know if it's actually going to happen. I don't really know if there's a logical route there, but a lot of people were very upset with last week's episode, so I think maybe this will make everybody happy.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen last week's episode, I did talk to someone in the middle of the week who hadn't seen it yet, but I think he was on like a little vacation. So if you haven't seen it, no spoilers, but I mean, I don't know where this show's going to go. I don't even care, Mike. My prediction, maybe my wife is a big fan of the Arya character. Maybe she is the one to strike the final blow. And I don't think she wants the throne, but I think that she is going to kill a prominent character tonight.
Yeah, I think Arya's already had her kind of like highlighted moment for this season, so I find it hard for her to get it again. But I do have to say that even though I wasn't expecting what happened last week, and I didn't particularly, it's not like I hated the decision, it just didn't feel logical that we had made it there yet, probably because the season's been so condensed. But the nice thing about tonight is I legitimately don't know what's going to happen, and it's the final episode. There's not going to be Any cliffhangers. I know that we're going to have like some spin-off Game of Thrones series, but I think they're all prequels or just like side stories. I'm probably not going to watch. I mean, Better Call Saul is apparently a really, really good show, spin-off of Breaking Bad, one of the best TV shows literally ever created, but I only watched a couple episodes and then I just moved on. You know, once you feel kind of closure, kind of with a lot of these characters and a lot of the story of your universe, it's kind of hard to go on to the other shows, especially when, and by the time they get one of these Game of Thrones spin-offs off the ground, we probably won't be too far from a gigantic, huge budget Lord of the Rings TV show, you know, that's kind of going to get you back into that fantasy world. We're going to talk about a new HBO show here in a little bit on the show that I had never heard of. I watched the trailer. It looked very, very expensive. So every streaming service out there is going to, it's almost like as soon as Game of Thrones is done tonight, it's like a free-for-all for people's HBO subscription money, you know? Like, I pay, like, what, $15 a month for HBO, which is a very premium streaming price. And I have only used it for Game of Thrones, and then every once in a while I remember that they actually do have like premium movies on there that Netflix usually doesn't get. Like I watched Black Klansman the other week. My wife and I just watched Crazy Rich Asians last night on HBO. So, you know, with Game of Thrones not there, I don't even know if I'll remember I have the app installed on my PlayStation. So Disney's coming for my money. Amazon's already got it. I'm sure there's another streaming service that's going to want part of that $15, you know?
Well, I mean, to me, I mean, it's one of those things like, you know, we have to have cycles in television shows, Mike. Otherwise, what's the point, you know? Before Game of Thrones, wasn't it The Sopranos? Wasn't that the big HBO show?
Yeah, but I was, we didn't have it streaming then, so I'd never seen it.
Yeah, so, I mean, HBO's, they usually have a show or two. I mean, they have some smaller ones. Like, I've heard really good things about the Barry show that's usually on after Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah, that actually is something that I need to catch up on. I saw the first season.
I really enjoy Westworld on HBO, but it's not conflicting or at the same time as Game of Thrones. So I mean, we need cycles, and you know, we got a lot of shows. We're gonna talk about some shows coming up here later in the episode. But I mean, honestly, tonight I don't care what happens. The show will be done, and we can move on to the next big thing. And I can maybe use this to catch up on Shield, which is back in with season 6. I think I haven't watched either episode yet, which is my fault. Or like I said, I need to finish up Legion season 2 before it kicks off. So. Man, I need some of those TV hours back in my life, Mike. That's what I'm looking for. But I also have to give a shout out to Adam Nemec again. Remember he hosted 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, when I was gone, when I was down 2 teeth. Thank you.
Yeah, or up 2 teeth. We can't decide yet. No. But he recently got engaged this week. He was a guy on the trip out and didn't see Game of Thrones. So
congratulations!
Congratulations to you, Adam, and you know, your fiancée Kate. They both go to C2E2 with me. So. Glad to see that happen. So
you said they just got engaged?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't remember if you said married. That's a big step. If you're talking about a proposal, like once the guy gets the proposal out of the way, the weight off his shoulders is enormous. So congratulations to him. I'm sure he was nervous as all hell like I was. So now, Adam, you just get to cruise into the rest of your life, and just over the next year or two, just make sure you answer all of your fiance's questions of what's going to be in the wedding. So make sure you know what your favorite colors are, some of your favorite patterns are. Know what kind of suit you want to wear. Just get those things done and out of your head, and you can answer those questions right away.
As large of a Ghostbusters fan as he is, I really expect him to serve ecto cooler out of a punch bowl.
Whoa, at this event. So, that would be rad.
I know. I'm putting this idea in his head. Hopefully, he's listening and it's like taking notes. So,
I think the officiate at the wedding should be dressed as Slimer.
Oh yeah,
who marries them.
I don't know. That wouldn't go well for photos. Put him in a regular Ghostbusters proton suit.
Okay. That's a marriage. It's compromise. He suggests Slimer. She suggests, a normal person, and then you land on Ghostbusters Proton Pack.
Yeah. Well, and hopefully, when they do their vows, they cross their streams. For life. But
no, that's for the night after the wedding, Chris.
Oh wow. Okay. All right, let's jump into this. So this weekend, me and Mike went out of our normal zones and watched a movie that's not in our it's in our wheelhouse, but it's not in our Superhero Slate wheelhouse, so we're not doing a review episode on this, but we watched John Wick Chapter 3 Parabellum. That is its full name. Oh my god, is it a long name. I went Friday. I beat Mike to this, and I've never seen any of these in theaters before. This is my first one in theater. So me and my wife went. I gotta tell you about my experience, Mike.
Tell me.
It was a lively theater. The 8 p.m. on Friday, non-IMAX, the cheapest seats you can buy. People are watching this. They are talking during the movie. They are laughing. They are reacting to this movie very audibly. And it made it, like, normally I would hate that. I would hate it so much. But there is, like, this is an action movie. So, like, when you feel like, when you see something that's cool or gruesome or awesome, like, you want to, like, surprising, like, you want to react to out loud. And that was just, it amplified my experience so much more having this audience with this movie.
It definitely depends on the type of movie, and also it almost depends on like the level of reaction. I feel like if you don't want people in the middle. You either need the whole theater going crazy or everybody kind of being silent. Like anywhere in the middle almost feels annoying. So it sounds like really cool that everybody was really into it. Yeah. And oh man, there is definitely like my theater experience was much more muted. I went at 10:45 in the morning, where middle-aged men were ordering white wine with their popcorn at the movie theater, which was very bizarre to me. But it was a very large theater with a sparse seating, just because it was early in the morning. But even at those moments where I'm sure your theater was exploding, I was hearing the people in my theater just like I could hear across like the stadium seating that somebody over there was like reacting and stuff. So even if it's like a.m. in the morning and people are drinking white wine with their popcorn, they're still freaking out at this movie, man. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it is a fun movie, and if we may get into spoilers here in a minute, but like you can skip down to our next news in our time codes if you want to see it. But like this movie's not very full on plot, to be completely honest. It is full of action, and I will tell you, I lost count how many times someone was stabbed, shot, punched, or bit in the balls in this movie. There are crotch shots. I can't even count in this movie, but like they never, like there are some gruesome parts. They never continued to not surprise me in interesting ways to shoot and kill people through this thing, from action scene to action scene. Like it was a wild ride.
And these action scenes, some of them are so long that I'm just astonished by the amount of choreography, the amount of stunt work, the amount of just planning by the directors, that when this movie was over, I tweeted right away. I was like, this movie will convince you that the Oscars needs a stunt / choreography category for Best Picture. These types of work need to be recognized by the Academy. It's just astonishing all the work that went into this film, and so much of it I'm positive is practical effects. It's just a whole bunch of planning and practice over and over again of these very high paid actors. I mean, Keanu Reeves and Halle Berry, they can take any easy role on the planet where they're just in a chair talking with somebody on the other side of a table, and they can cash in for millions of dollars and not even have to move. But there's like behind the scene footage of these people training like for months and months, trying to get this down, like trying to figure out how to choreograph a scene with like trained dogs running around and grabbing people's arms and stuff. So I really think stuff like this needs to be recognized. And I think the category could be broad too, just for choreography in general. Like maybe you have like a musical movie that has like really cool like dance numbers. You could recognize the choreography of those dances. Those movies could at least be nominated in that category. And this gives a chance for a movie like John Wick that would never qualify for pretty much any other category in the Oscars to really be seen. And they're always talking about how the Academy is worried about like ratings and stuff. So I would tune in to see if John Wick would get recognized. But yeah, this movie was crazy fun. Like when you said thin on plot, doesn't necessarily mean you're desiring more. It means they're giving you like just enough. I feel like with every movie you learn a little bit more about the high table and how it works, and it's great. Like we get to learn a little bit more about the coins just on a one-off character who was in Game of Thrones, which was kind of cool. It took me a minute to like connect his accent to his like less grizzled face in this movie. I was like, that's the dude from Game of Thrones, so that was pretty fun.
Well, with his accent as well. I mean, just calling out people I saw. I mean, honestly, the guy, one of the administrators who did the deconsecration or whatever, That's Robin Lord Taylor, who plays the Penguin in.
That's what I was actually going to ask you. Like, do you remember the guy on the phone who deconsecrated? Because I was looking at him and I was like, why does he look so familiar? He had like all of these piercings on his face, and I thought maybe he was like a lead singer of like a band or something. And I was trying to look up like cameos of the movie, and the only thing I kept seeing was that 76ers basketball player at the beginning who was like gigantic. That was a cool fight too.
Yeah, I mean everything about this was really fun. Like it literally. Like, when I said it's thin on plot, it's like literally like you're given a scene and John Wick is a literal and literal and figurative gun pointing to the next scene, like to the next action sequence, and he went from A to B to C. I have to say I wanted to see more of Halle Berry's character. She just kind of served a small purpose for a little bit. But I thought she'd be more in the long run. But I have to admit, her dogs were very interesting. I really enjoyed the dogs she had.
Oh, yeah. I'd never seen anything quite like that before. Usually you might get like one trained dog on set that does one thing kind of cool, and then usually some sort of like big like hulking person just kind of like swats the dog away and you never see it again. But no, these dogs were badass.
It is. And if anyone was curious, they don't die in the end, so you're good. I mean,
yeah, I feel like
people are gonna cry if dogs die again. That's how this whole series started, with a dog dying. So
yeah, I feel like in their offices at the studio, they just have a big sign on the door that says "No more dogs die." The one was enough. So
yeah, exactly. So there's that. I mean, this movie, it does in fact set up another movie at the end of it, just to let you know, because I want to see more of, like you said, the mythos and the history, but this one really ends on an interesting note more than the other two did, where like I guess the tables haven't turned again, the high table, but like I feel like the next one or two is going to be a deconstruction of the things that they've kind of just been lingering above us a little bit.
Yeah, and John Wick has kind of been a central pawn for a lot of people in these movies, so I think he's going to reach a literal and figurative breaking point sooner or later, where he kind of rebels against all of these people kind of using him for his tools. But just like the second film, this film like literally picks off from where the last movie ended, hits the ground running for sure. Yeah. So even though the second movie had a slightly more memorable final ending than the first movie did, I still didn't remember all the little machinations of what happened in the second film with like the guy that like John Wick killed and that got him in trouble. So it wouldn't hurt to kind of watch these movies before you go see the new ones, just because these films have a longer development cycle. So, you know, with an Avengers movie, like you can watch that just once, remember everything that happened, because you're going to see the next one in like a year later. But with these John Wick movies kind of being spaced out by 2 or 3 years, I would recommend, if you haven't seen any of them, definitely watch the first ones. They're all good.
And I do have to give a shout out to actor Mark Dacascos, who played Zero, the leader of the kind of like, not the mafia, but the Yakuza type people with the swords.
Oh, the a la cuisine guy.
Yes. So his name is Zero. He's a cat guy. He is got this face that just like, he looks unhinged sometimes. But he was also in S.H.I.E.L.D. for like a whole season as an Inhuman in there.
Oh yeah, that's right.
He had hair in that one. In this one, he's bald. But he played in S.H.I.E.L.D. for a season. But like, it was really fun because he's like everyone's like trying to kill John Wick, but then like, oh my gosh, it's an honor to fight you and meet you. Oh
yeah, people are just like fanning out over him. It's so cool.
Yeah, it was really fun. And kudos to that guy and everything. So I think it was I had a really good time, Mike. Like I said, out of our wheelhouse, but I had a good time, and I look forward to the next one. However many years that'll be.
I'm glad I got you on board with these films. You know, you were a little apprehensive at first, but I'm glad you're actually going to the theaters for them now.
Well, now that I'm like this is a movie where I get a soft drink and a popcorn, and I just don't care. I'm not invested, and I was trying to get invested in the first two, and I didn't. It didn't work. So once I realized what my problem was, I'm on board. I'm like, yep.
Yeah, Chris, you're the problem.
I'm gonna grab that fistful of popcorn and shove it all in my mouth at once, like a funnel, just like mash it in there. I'm gonna be that guy at these movie theaters. So, but yeah, anything else on that? You want to jump into some actual news here?
Let's jump into the biggest news of the week for sure.
The Batman casting list has been announced. There's a huge misconception here. Variety had an article saying Robert Pattinson has been cast, but they have like every other news article is like, no, he's a finalist. So Robert Pattinson is not the Batman yet, but he is like literally like the top runner. He holds the cards if he wanted to do it. Is what it comes down to. And there are already unhinged fans signing petitions for him to not play the Batman.
Oh my god.
And to be completely honest, I don't care. But let me give you the other 4 options that are out there according to THR and Deadline. If that's okay. Okay. So we have Robert Pattinson, known for Twilight. Nicholas Hoult, who played Beast in the newest X-Men series. Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's known for Quicksilver and Kick-Ass. And Armie Hammer, who was the Lone Ranger, and I want to say he was in that Henry Cavill movie with the spies. The 2 spies, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I just checked on Variety, and they're still running with the headline that he is indeed going to be the Batman. So I don't know if maybe Variety has some insider information, and maybe all of the other outlets are kind of sticking with this broader list, just the heads or bets. But there's a very similar story that we can remember not too far ago when we all thought Asa Butterfield was going to be the new Spider-Man, and then it ended up being a short list, and then it was actually Tom Holland. So there is precedent where this could all be flipped around. We could all be fooled right now. But it seems like Robert Pattinson, at the very least, is the front runner right now if he's getting his name only connected to this Variety article for sure. Maybe all of these other lists coming out, maybe this is all like negotiation tactic by agents. I'm not too sure.
But at the same time, it all depends on which one you take as serious. Like, which one is your actual source. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But if I had to be laser focused on Robert Pattinson for a second, I just wanted to say we all need to learn our lesson here from all of these other casting announcements that have happened in the past, and people have just gotten too ridiculously overblown about it. One thing that I didn't realize until Endgame came out a couple weeks ago, that people were sharing screenshots of people's reactions for when Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth were cast for the Thor movies. Yeah. Apparently people were just like writing them off like, oh, some surfer person and some theater guy, they're going to be in a comic book movie. What a dumb idea. People just thought it was so stupid. And I don't recall seeing those articles. I don't think I was looking at Australian publications back when the Thor movies were being cast way back in the day. But it's just crazy. We can all definitely think about Heath Ledger and the Joker. There's plenty of other casting where, people have just thrown their hands up in the air and say this is a horrible idea, and it doesn't end up like that. Even with Jared Leto, obviously his character, the way they created the Joker, was the poor decision. But I don't think he was necessarily a bad casting choice. It was just what they decided to do with him and where to put those dumb tattoos on his face. So I think we all just need to take a deep breath and step back. And I didn't realize this until people were in a fervor and talking about it, but the Twilight movies were like 10 years ago. Like Robert Pattinson has 100% moved past those movies, so you can't just pigeonhole him into that role anymore. And it's just like, if any of us were handsome enough to be cast into like a teen romantic,
a multi-billion-dollar movie franchise, regardless of what you think,
any one of us would sign that check and cash in that money. So the first thing that I thought of when he was cast was, I didn't even have an opinion. I was just like, okay, I'm going to Google a picture of him and put my hand over the top of his face, and just to see if his mouth is Batman, because that's basically what you're looking for here, to see if anybody's got the strong enough jawline to put on the cape and cowl. And if you follow Boss Logic out there on Twitter or Instagram, he does all of these like Photoshop comps for all of these casting announcements whenever they come out, and he has one out there for Robert Pattinson, and I thought he looks fine. Apparently Robert is around the same age, I think, as when Christopher Nolan was casting Batman for Christian Bale. So I don't think necessarily it's like they're casting like a little baby in the film. But we have had kind of rumors that this could be a Batman year one type situation, a younger, slightly less experienced Batman, since we are just off the tail end of the opposite end of the spectrum of the Batfleck older Batman,
Well, on the other end, it's not a year one because there's already 6 villains in this movie, according to the reports as well. It may have up to 6 villains, including Catwoman and Penguin. So they said they're probably not doing the year 0 approach. Maybe like a year 2 or 3 kind of thing.
Okay. That would be interesting because we have seen in Batman Begins, we've kind of seen the very origin, of Batman. How exactly does he train, make it back to Gotham City? So we have seen that story before. But I feel like every other Batman movie, we've seen Batman like kind of in his prime. We've seen Batman where he's like really just at it, like saving the city, meeting these new villains. He already has the Batcave and everything. But it would be kind of interesting to see a Batman like, just still trying to figure things out. Maybe he hasn't had everything polished yet. But it seems like we're being promised like an actual detective movie, which is something I think we've yet to see in any Batman movie, is somebody really looking over the clues and maybe sneaking into a crime scene. So I think the only thing Matt Reeves, the director of the film, has stated is that there's going to be a noir approach to this movie. So that is exciting. So either way, I wasn't really too concerned when I saw this news. The only thing I was thinking is the Batman thumbnails on YouTube can return, because I feel like when we were trying to figure out if Ben Affleck was still going to be Batman, there was like a news story every single week, and these different news YouTube channels that I follow would just have to find a way to make a brand new Batman thumbnail because there's only so many photos of Ben Affleck and Batman out there. So they're just trying to figure out, how do we make a new thumbnail? Well, now you can throw Robert Pattinson in there. So the return of Batman on YouTube.
Yeah, it sounds like he ever left. To me, like I want to hear official announcing. I want to hear what's going on before we play the game jump to conclusions, because it could easily not be any of these four and be something else completely, like you said. So I mean, I was watching Aquaman last night. I like the action scenes, but I don't love like some of it. So I'm just like, we need to knock this one out of the park. Don't rush the Batman, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, I mean, if I had to comment on anyone else on this list, I feel like Armie Hammer kind of has more of the classical like handsome man approach, which could work well for Bruce Wayne. But I don't know, I feel like I still have like a craw on my side with Armie Hammer, because he was like complaining that people were like eulogizing Stan Lee when he died, and I was like, Armie Hammer, just get off your high horse here. People just want to share pictures that they took with Stan Lee. That's okay. So if Armie Hammer somehow gets cast, I want another apology from him that maybe he was a little too much of a dick.
Well, and I don't know if they'd put him back again if they had him as Batman and they had Henry Cavill as Superman in the same franchise. Still, we don't even know if he's coming back. But like, that would just be a repeat of them being in that same movie together again. So I'm just like,
Hey, we just saw John Wick, and there was pretty much a Matrix reunion in those last two movies. So
yeah, almost. So yeah, I can go either way in Batman. We'll figure it out. But what we do know is Batwoman is getting cast, and she has a show coming out on the CW, and we got our first look teaser for this show, and looks like an origin first episode, I guess, and we didn't get that in the crossover. So
yeah, that's one thing I wasn't expecting. And in this trailer, we see her in more of a proto Batman suit. It looks like it's actually one of Bruce's suits that she puts on, which was kind of cool. I wasn't expecting that. But there was this one little note in the trailer that I thought was interesting, where it seems like when she's wearing this kind of classic Batman suit, the public in Gotham think that Batman's back, and they say, oh, Batman, like they're giving Batman all this credit. So they almost kind of put this logical reason why she wants a different suit and why she wants a bright red wig attached to her costume, because she wants people to know that this is not Batman. This is somebody else saving you. Stop giving credit to my cousin. So I thought that was kind of cool, like, because that's what I'm always thinking with these TV shows and with these movies. I want some sort of logical reason why somebody would put on like these like really fancy pajamas and like run around the city like a buffoon. So putting that kind of a reasoning into the execution, I thought that was kind of cool. It very much looks still like a CW show, so it doesn't seem like they're trying to elevate the art form right now.
Well, they can't have Batman, but they can have a suit, and he's apparently abandoned the town or whatever, and she's Batman's cousin, or Bruce Wayne's cousin. So we'll see how it goes. Is it enough to sell me? Not yet, but I mean, it was a well put together teaser. I'll give them that much for what little bit we know, compared to, like you said, the last the crossover they kind of had with her. So
yeah, I don't know if they've announced the episode order yet, but it would be kind of cool if they keep them to like a shorter 13 episode season, just because it'll be a more condensed story. And who knows, season 2 could end up being longer. But it seems like if they're really okay with talking about this idea that Batman existed, he's gone, Bruce Wayne used to be a thing, who knows, maybe in like season 3 or 4, maybe Bruce will come back. You know, we never thought we would actually see Superman on Supergirl, and it happened. So maybe we'll see Batman again.
Yeah.
You know,
they've told him no so far, but we'll see what's happening. I want to see if maybe they end up referencing the crossover later in the season rather than because like I said, how much of this is a prequel to that crossover, and how much of it is post that crossover? Because that means if the first episode is just a pilot history creation of Batwoman, and the rest is her doing the name. I don't know. We'll see. Because I'm interested to see how they kind of line it all up. You know, that's always because the CW it's doing a thing where it's trying to sync all these shows up, but in different universes too. And if they make it work there, they can probably make it work on a larger scale for movies that we're looking for. So,
yeah.
So that's my guesstimate on that one. This for HBO, we're talking about Game of Thrones. HBO's next show is called His Dark Materials, and they've got some big name casting in this series here. And if anyone's not familiar with His Dark Materials, they might remember the movie The Golden Compass that came out several years ago. I say 10 or so. That's actually the first of the 3 books in the series. Was The Golden Compass. So now they've decided they didn't get any sequels in that, so now they're doing the TV show, His Dark Materials, and they've got lined up Dafne Keene, who was X-23 in Logan, James McAvoy, of course, Professor Xavier, and Manuel-Miranda from Hamilton fame.
This is pretty powerful casting. And actually, when you were explaining it to me earlier before we started recording, I thought you were saying His Dark Materials is just a book by the same author, which is the case. But I didn't realize this is literally like the Golden Compass TV show, but they're just kind of using a title from a different book in the series, right?
Well, His Dark Materials is the name of the trilogy. The Golden Compass was actually not even a title of the book. The book is called Northern Lights. And then they've re-subtitled it The Golden Compass because
I'm glad you know what you're talking about because I had no idea.
Well, my wife teaches 5th graders, and this is like material right up their alley in terms of books. And it deals with the multiverse as well, which is kind of why I brought it up.
I think the thing that's most exciting about this to me is it's an HBO show, which means they're making content for an older audience, and this definitely reminds me of like a younger adult material. So it makes me think that we're gonna get more of a serious take on these stories, which I have no idea what these stories are. But I always think it's really cool when you can get like a story with a main character who's a kid, but you're not like pandering to a younger audience. So that kind of makes me excited to see where they're going to go with this. And the trailer looks very expensive. So I love the idea that they're just pouring money into these original series. Like I feel like I'm just getting spoiled every time like a new streaming show comes out because they're just all in an all-out brawl for eyeballs, time, and audience and subscription dollars. So it's so cool that we get to benefit from this. I think friend of the show, Quentin Parker, is a really big Golden Compass fan. I think he read the book, whatever you said it was called.
Northern Lights.
Yeah, I believe he saw the movie. I don't remember what his opinion on the movie is, but I'd be interested to see what he thinks about this trailer. But it's kind of a cool name too, His Dark Materials. Like that sounds spooky enough for me to watch it,
Yeah, and the idea of multiverses seems to be kicking off in everything we're talking about lately. So maybe they're like, okay, the world's okay to deal with this, and with the casting such as these people, I think it's going to be that adult material. So, we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I don't know anything about it, but we'll wing it. Netflix is also gearing up with some new TV shows to combat all these other streaming services. And the success of The Umbrella Academy, which we liked, has led to a first look deal at Dark Horse Comic Books. And some of the Dark Horse books you may know, and I don't know if any of these are really on the table or not, include Hellboy. Got to start with Dark Horse. Sin City is one of the biggest comics out of Dark Horse, and 300 as well.
Well, I mean, TV streaming might be the only chance for Hellboy to continue in like a live action setting. You know, that movie that just came out was just atrocious, man. It was so unfortunate that it turned out the way it did. We know Guillermo del Toro is not returning to it. And, you know, everybody is like too old from those previous movies. Those are just a long gone memory. But the first Hellboy movie is streaming on Netflix, so that means Netflix has analytics and statistics on it. So if they're just like, hey, a lot of people are really watching this first Hellboy movie on Netflix, we now have a first look deal with Dark Horse. Maybe we should develop a Hellboy something. Now, the inner nerd in me would love an animated series in the style of Mike Mignola. That would be freaking cool to see that animated. And I know Netflix is making a big push for that animated series. That would be rad. That would be so cool. You could do so much with that. But live action would also be cool. Sin City's one of my favorite movies. I love the way that looks. I haven't seen it in a really long time now, and maybe watching it now after seeing all these other comic book movies, maybe my opinion has changed, but it left a good taste in my mouth the last time I saw it, you know?
Mm-hmm. See, I'm on the other end. I really, after watching this, I don't mind Hellboy as much, but I really don't think Del Toro should ever return at all. It should be locked away in a vault. But there, like, the problem with Dark Horse is, and a lot of people, like I've seen, they license movie materials to make their comics. So, like, any Alien comic, any Predator comic, RoboCop, they did Star Wars up until like 2015. Those will never be created as TV shows, sadly. But I mean, if they can pick one of these, you know, other maybe not these three that we just listed, but maybe there's some underrated like smaller comic books they could pull and make into new TV shows. I'd watch them the way they did the Umbrella Academy. They pulled the rug out, literally. They pulled it out from under the rug and like, hey, here's a comic book no one's read in 10 years. So let's do this. So
they should have the people that are producing the Castlevania animated series to work on a Hellboy animated series, because I love that so much. The animation house that makes it too, Powerhouse Animation, does a great job creating it. So give them Hellboy. That's my pitch. That's my pitch.
Mind Management, MGMT. That's a really popular comic book, and I forgot it's a Dark Horse as well. So there's a bunch of them they could really pull from this. So I mean,
and it seems like they're definitely not afraid to develop something that people aren't familiar with. I mean, nobody really knew what Umbrella Academy was until the season came out. So that makes me excited too, that they could just pluck something from obscurity that I've never heard of and love it.
Yeah, original stuff is kind of rare right now. So let's go with that. On that note, at Netflix, they have go ahead and taken one of Mark Millar's Millarword titles, The Magic Order, and ordered it to series at Netflix with the pilot directed by James Wan.
James Wan, he's getting work.
Yeah, this is where it is. So the Magic Order just came out late last year, wrapped up, I think, in March of this year, with a group of 5 families of magicians entrusted to keep the world safe from supernatural problems. But the members being picked off one by one. It sounds like a Doctor Strange kind of TV show, to be completely honest, but you know, whatever, that's fine.
Yeah, it sounds exciting.
It's like a 6-issue story, very finite, so they can...
I mean, I would basically say, see the last segment we just talked about, you know, obscure comic book, never heard about it, turn it into a show, maybe I'll love it. So it seems like Netflix definitely has a strategy here of just, well, we want to develop pre-existing content that's been somewhat proven, so let's do it from comic books.
Yeah, exactly. And since, you know, they have Mark Millar, a lot of his stuff, like he wrote, you know, Kingsman and Wanted, and a bunch of his materials have been adapted already. So I think the way he writes it lends itself to television and video and film. So maybe we'll see what's going on there. But
so this is a strategy out there for you young and fledgling writers, that if you want to get a show made and you don't have any pre-existing IP that you own, make good friends with an artist and create a comic book, because that's what's being turned into TV shows. You might have to make a comic book first before you can get somebody else to read your script. So
yeah, I agree. So yeah, Magic Order, we'll see what goes on there. Isn't there a show called The Magicians or something on Sci-Fi? Wasn't there?
Yeah, I think it's been I think it's maybe on season 2 or 3, so it's getting an audience.
I'm gonna do a Google on that, because I'm gonna just make sure 4 seasons.
Oh wow, we're really sleeping on that show, aren't we?
Yeah, we are. I keep seeing trailers for it, but yeah, so that seems like it could be something like, if there's an audience for that, that's the same audience here. That's what I'm thinking. Do you ever watch the Saw movies?
My wife has a weird affinity for the Saw movies. I don't really understand it because like she doesn't like scary movies. She doesn't like horror movies, but I guess the Saw movies are just scratching some sort of very peculiar itch. So I have seen some of them just because she was watching them, but man, they're crazy.
They are, and they kind of wrapped up I think a couple years ago, but now Chris Rock, yes, that Chris Rock is going to work with James Wan and Lee Wannell, Wannell, I don't know how to pronounce his name, producers of some of the later Saw movies, to reboot the series in a modern setting, and is releasing October of next year already.
Yeah, screw it. Let's do it. Who cares? Like, nobody out. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's very concerned about the lore of Saw. But let's be real. People are watching these movies because they want to see the gruesome ways that people get tortured and dismembered. I cannot get the visual out of my head when that one woman fell into the pit of hypodermic needles. Ugh, it gives me the heebie-jeebies when I think about it. So when I think Chris Rock trying to attach him to that, I'm just like, yeah, screw it, do it. Who cares? Maybe he'll bring a unique take to these movies because that's what they're gonna need. There's like 8, 9, 1,000 of the Saw movies already, so
I don't.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. Well, so I just looked up just to confirm. Juan and Wannell wrote Saw and pitched it to the studio, so they literally are the creators of the Saw franchise. So they're working with Chris Rock to make a rebooted version in the modern day. And I guess I should specify here before I sound like a man baby who's scared of everything. The Saw movies aren't even scary at all, especially once you get past the first couple films. They're just all body horror.
Yeah, body horror stuff. There are moments where you'll cringe and wince, but there's not a whole lot of moments where there's like a jump scare and you're gonna be like clawing onto your pillow, like waiting for the next ghost to spook you. So, yeah, this is the weirdest news all week for sure.
Yeah, it's like, all right, that's fine, whatever. But in that note, since James Wan is literally everywhere right now, he is looking to produce the reboot of Mortal Kombat movie.
All right, Chris, I'm going to go Command F, and I'm going to go James Wan. We have talked about him 4 times now.
Yeah, 3 times technically. Once was in the intro, but yes, he is all over the place right now. He's riding that $1 billion Aquaman movie into whatever he wants to do. And they've already scheduled this to land March 5th, 2021, which is the same day as Sony's Master of the Universe reboot. So what a day if these both keep the same thing. What a weekend. I'd want to do a double feature that day, Mike, to just see which one's the worst.
Yeah, it would be weird to see how I'm definitely curious how somebody can turn Mortal Kombat into a movie franchise. Like, I watched that first Mortal Kombat movie a bajillion times when I was a kid. Just because I think we had it on VHS. I was a child. I liked watching characters fight that were from a video game that I played. So I don't even remember. I don't think the movie was good at all, but I remember every single set piece in the film and the awesome music that came along with it. I think sometimes I put in the VHS just to listen to the song, and then I would rewind it, and then I would play it again. Oh, man. I'm thinking about it in my head, so that's got to be in the movie for sure. But there's no way this movie's being developed as like a one-shot. There's definitely a franchise in mind for sure. So I'm curious how you turn it a battle royale into a franchise. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, it's less battle royale because, I mean, I like the story of the first one. Like, you have to come here and fight people, and if you beat them, you move up, and then you can win to get your wishes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do they update that for 2021 to make it feel real? I don't know. But those old 2 movies don't hold up. I remember watching those. My 5th grade birthday party, I had people over. We watched Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 back to back.
Man,
so,
yeah.
But and then the new Mortal Kombat 11 just came out. It had like some sort of blunder in how it handled microtransactions.
Oh, the new one that just came out. Yeah,
yes.
I heard about that.
But like, that's just in time for another Mortal Kombat game to come out in 2021 with that.
I'll fold back on our John Wick conversation we had earlier. When I was watching John Wick, I was like, this is the best video game movie ever made, because the whole goal for a video game movie should be to recreate that feeling of playing the game, not necessarily trying to adhere to the whatever random story the game creators came up with. But when I was watching some of these extended action scenes in John Wick, I was like, yes, this is what it feels like to be on fire in like an online match of a first-person shooter. You know, this is what it feels like to be on 11 kill streak, you know, high on caffeine, you know, just shoving your favorite snack into your face and just like getting all these achievements. I'm feeling like that watching the movie. So maybe James Wan can figure out how to get that feeling out of Mortal Kombat, what it feels like to really just be like railing off some awesome combos on some people.
If the choreography is right and they can hit all the effects with the special moves of some of those people, like, yeah, I think it's gonna be great. So I agree. Let's wait for Mortal Kombat. Avatar 2 has cast actor singer Jermaine Clement as from Legion as In Garvin, whoever the hell that is.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Is he the voice of the shiny crab in Moana, or am I thinking of somebody?
No, he is.
Okay,
yeah, he is known for Flight of the Conchords. He was the villain in Men in Black 3. Like you said, he was in that first season of Legion. I haven't watched the second yet, but he's very popular.
So shiny.
Yeah.
No, I got that song stuck in my head.
But the picture show, he looks more like a scientist maybe. But honestly, we don't know anything about Avatar 2 except it keeps getting pushed back. So, but I just wanted to bring that because I really like Jermaine Clement. I'm like, okay, I could, if he's in it, I'm feeling less, against it to watch it. So, just to see what he plays.
Yeah, this is great because we were just talking about Avatar. I'm just thinking, what? Chris didn't give me a box office update on Endgame at the top of the show. Where are we at with the worldwide gross?
Well,
and then I look down here and
that's the thing, because we always start off with Avengers stuff and Marvel stuff lately. But I was like, you know what, Batman's a bigger topic, so we'll save Avengers here for after our Avatar news. So Avengers Endgame, our box office update as of today. It has passed Avatar's domestic total. So it is number, I think, 2 domestically now, behind Star Wars The Force Awakens, and still number 2 behind Avatar total by like 300 million. With each passing day and each passing John Wick screening, people feel like Endgame might not pass Avatar at all, but if they just leave it in theaters for a little while longer, it might trickle some money in to get there.
Yeah, let's see here. I'm going to do the math right now. I'm on the page here for the listing. I'll put it in my calculator. Endgame is going to need about $224 million.
Are you on Box Office Mojo?
Yes.
That's not updated with today's totals yet, but yes.
Okay, so we are getting close to the 200 million mark. So it's really just the legs. That is the big question right now. I am confident that this movie will be in theaters all summer. Now, I'm not saying it's going to have a bunch of show times, but I feel like in October, kind of the very, very end of summer movie season, because stuff trickles into October, I feel like I could still go to a movie theater and maybe catch like a 2 p.m. showing of Endgame. So if it really lasts through the summer, we might be able to inch up there. But I am surprised so many people were extremely confident when the movie was coming out opening weekend that it was going to surpass Avatar. But now I wonder where the calculations are at. I would love to maybe hear from people that really dig into like box office analytics more often, but I'm sure we'll have something here soon, because John Wick was like kind of the first big box office opening, because Detective Pikachu had a little bit of a soft start, but maybe John Wick now is going to start having people do their calculations a little bit different.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think literally it's next weekend with Aladdin. Like, this is a good weekend for. I saw people watching Endgame while I was in the theater at John Wick. Aladdin is next weekend, and any Disney movie property will literally swallow whole families.
That'll suck the air out of the room.
So
for sure.
That is the one I think that will do it. And then
unless it's awful, if the reviews are really, really bad, maybe it'll work out in Endgame's favor.
It's Disney. Yeah, they can't. They won't be that bad.
It all goes into the Disney pocket. Like, if you don't give the money to the Aladdin and you give it to Endgame, it still goes to Bob Iger.
Well, and at the end of that, right after that, I'm actually excited for Godzilla. King of the Monsters.
Yeah, I haven't. I haven't seen any of these new monster movies from this franchise. I haven't seen the first Godzilla. I haven't watched Skull Island yet. They were streaming on HBO, but I think they got pulled because the new movie's about to come out. But I wouldn't mind catching them because I've seen some of the. They've done a good job with the trailers for this one. It makes me look excited.
It makes you look excited. It makes me
Yep.
feel excited. So you should watch the first Godzilla. You don't have to watch Kong to catch up. So
Okay.
I would recommend watching, but we'll talk about that more later. Spider-Man Far From Home, however, is riding the coattails of Endgame with a projected 200 million opening weekend for Spider-Man.
Wow.
And Spider-Man's always
see
popular,
that.
so.
Well, this is the first time in a while we've had a movie, a post-Avengers movie that wasn't just like an Ant-Man.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like a big movie that people are going to want to see. I feel like every year a Spider-Man movie has come out, whether it was animated or live action. It's been literally my favorite movie of the year. So I'm very much looking forward to see what they do here. So I will be there opening night.
And you know, honestly, using Mysterio for the first time ever, that's hype levels to a whole new world.
And
man.
also, yeah, and don't forget, Jake Gyllenhaal is a catch for sure. I mean, he was like an indie movie serious darling that just wanted to do like thought-provoking films. You know, he didn't want to jump on this franchise bandwagon, but now he's Mysterio and
whatever.
people-
He was Prince of Persia, man. He was ready to jump in that stuff.
I think maybe that's what got him off of the franchise kick. Like, I thought I was gonna be retiring on a beach from Prince of Persia, and that did not work.
No, but yeah, so that's coming. I was able to finally get my hands on Dark Berry Dr. Pepper. It's okay. I'm not. It doesn't blow me out of the water. Like
I thought it was pretty good actually.
I'm not a huge Dr. Pepper person to begin with, so it didn't like really knock me out of the park. Have you tried the Mountain Dew Sweet Lightning yet?
Oh God, I didn't even know that was a thing. What color is it?
It's
what color
orange.
did they make it?
It's peach and honey mixed in with
Whoa.
Mountain Dew. It's available.
I'd like to try.
It's available at KFC right now because of the Georgia honey whatever flavors.
Oh, so it's like a Baja Blast situation. I have to go to KFC to get it.
Yeah, but it is worth the trip, my friend.
Ooh,
it is the best
man.
Mountain Dew I've had probably ever, and I love me some Pitch Black and Livewire. So.
Oh man, these are some hot tips for sure.
Yeah. I had that before I watched John Wick, and that's just made the night even better. With that.
Real quick before we move on to the next snack, I had to look up Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. $200 million budget, which shocked me, especially since this movie came out in 2010. I thought maybe we'd be in the 90 million for the budget, but it made 336 million worldwide. So with advertising budget, I could see why there wasn't a sequel for sure, but not too bad.
To be completely honest, that was my favorite video game movie probably until Detective Pikachu.
Oh, okay.
It's really not that bad. I mean, if I like the video game, so yeah, it's fine. It's fine by me. But also, I got to thank you. I have to thank listener show Patrick Foster and all the dozens of people who sent me this Reddit page about the Spider-Man Far From Home popcorn at AMC and why you should not get it.
This is what happens, Chris, when you put out in the world your snack expectations.
Yeah.
The second anybody gets any sort of whiff of what that snack's going to be like, you're going to get all the info.
It is. So apparently, do not get the red and blue popcorn, kettle corn at AMC because it will stain everything purple because it's red and blue dyed, and the flavor isn't as good as the other popcorn that's there, apparently.
Yeah, and I guess the cusp here is that they dye the kernels before they pop, I guess, and that just makes everything
Well, it looks
awful.
like it's dyed. It looks like it's powdered after the popping for the
all right.
because then it's all over your hands, red, blue. He said whatever you have, it's there. It's kind of like the glitter version of popcorn.
Oh, and if you're in a dark movie theater too, you won't even be able to see it on your fingers, and you'll be touching stuff, and you'll get out of the theater, and your face will look like a clown.
God, I really want this now. I actually maybe want to go get some more than when I had it. So
you just take the really dignified like Cheetos approach, and you just eat your popcorn with like chopsticks. Then you won't have to touch it.
I'm gonna take gloves. Rubber gloves, like the sterilized ones. Eat it.
There's gonna be a stranger next to you in the movie theater, and he's gonna look over and see you doing the and snapping the plastic glove, and he's gonna be like, "Oh God, what's about to happen?"
Oh, I'll bring an extra. I'll offer him one. I don't care. You want some popcorn? You gotta eat it with glove. Keep it safe. So
glove only, sir.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. Sebastian Stan may have leaked when the next Black Widow movie is taking place, right after Civil War movie. So.
Okay, so that puts it before Infinity War, of course. I'm trying to think of what's anything notable that kind of happened in that section of time, right? I guess what she's just kind of underground.
Yeah. So that's like literally right after that. I think Spider-Man, Homecoming, and Black Panther happen, and I think Doctor Strange is supposed to take place in this little window as well. But yeah, like this is where Steve and Natasha go underground and do the Secret Avengers kind of thing. So she just kind of walked out of the end of Civil War off the airport. We never saw her again, as far as I know, until Infinity War. So there's a lot of story to be told there.
Yeah, I guess this kind of softens the blow a little bit of my prequelitis, where I hate stuff where I already know where it ends up, just because it is in a somewhat recent time of a pocket that we really didn't get any stories told. So something could be going on there. It would be kind of cool if we got a Steve Rogers cameo. I know he's kind of left the franchise, but I still like the idea that all of the people that have worked in the MCU movies just had such a good time and made so many friends that if a new movie gets made, a director doesn't have to worry about maybe just bringing Chris Evans in for a day, maybe to just do a scene or something. That might be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that could happen. Yeah, but I'm very much excited that this is just not like an origin of Black Widow. They could fold some of the story into the film, but I'm glad at least I wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah,
now I'm really curious. I'm rolling around in my head.
It's an era where like I said, I agree with you. I'm glad it's not 90s or late or like mid 2000s. So I'm cool with that.
Yep.
But not only like are we worried about things before Endgame, coming back. Kevin Feige did a Reddit AMA this weekend, and people got to ask him a lot of stuff about the Marvel Universe.
I saw you send me this link to the thread, and I was in the middle of working on stuff. I was like, I do not have the time or mental bandwidth to jump into the analysis of a Kevin Feige AMA. So I was like, I will wait until Sunday, and Chris will give me the critical notions, because I can't recall the last time Feige did an AMA. And if you're on Reddit, that is the audience that is going to ask you all of the nitty-gritty questions. They are not going to be softballs. They're not going to be something easy that you can think about. So, okay, lay it on me.
So, a couple of the things that people asked questions that he answered the ones he wanted to. One of the biggest ones to walk away is they acknowledge that there is a real Mandarin in the MCU because of the All Hail the King one-shot, and there are plans to not just leave that in the one-shot as well. So going forward, we may see the 10 rings and the actual Mandarin behind everything come to fruition.
Maybe it'll be the a la cuisine guy. We liked him in John Wick, so maybe he can be the Mandarin. And they'll just won't do it stereotypical. Don't give him the long Fu Manchu mustache. Maybe make him like a really driven character who's out for revenge.
Well,
I don't know.
The 10 rings he's known for having 10 rings that each have a magical power. So I want to see where these rings come from. How do they get their powers? How do they actually make this guy have all these powers? With the rings. I want to see what that is, rather than just someone behind the shadows manipulating everything. So
maybe the movie could start off with like a heist or something, where just normal human beings break into like a sanctum somewhere in the world, maybe somewhere in Asia, and they just steal these rings or something, and then the sorcerers could never track him down. I don't know. There's definitely something you could do there.
Yeah, because you built that like well, he's always an Iron Man villain. So how do we make him somebody else's villain, going forward? Because we haven't had an Iron Man movie in how many years now? Since the last time it was in California, 2013.
Yeah, we ain't getting another one anytime soon.
Yeah. So where do we put this villain at? Do you know what I'm saying? Is he an Avengers villain? Is this something that people have to team up with him if he has 10 rings that are very powerful? Is he a Doctor Strange villain? Kind of in there. So, I don't know who we'd pit him against, to be completely honest.
He can't be collecting the rings, though, because that's too Thanos adjacent. He just needs to have them all when the movie starts.
Yeah, maybe the Shang-Chi movie that's coming out, maybe it could be an Asian set kind of thing.
Oh, I mean, that does make sense culturally.
Yeah, and wouldn't make it, kind of be less stereotypical, kind of, typecasting, trying to fit him into another movie, so... Yeah, there's plenty of options there, but I mean, I think he could be interesting to have in there. They also asked, how does he keep making, what are some tips to making the movies good? And he said, respect the source material, hire passionate filmmakers regardless of how much money their last movie made, and hire the best cast regardless of their current marquee value. And when you have Disney pockets, you can do all of those things. But also, like, they're saying, hey, you don't have to worry about them, being huge stars. Like, Robert Downey Jr. was known for being in trouble and, drug addict and in and out of jail before he was cast in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and then ultimately Iron Man. So, I mean, he's taken some risk over the past 11 years, and it sounds like he's ready to take some more.
Yeah. It harkens back to our earlier topic at the beginning of the show is just trust your casting directors. They know what they're doing. So, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. They're actors. They're paid to act a certain way. And you may not have seen them act the way you want as, like, Batman. In Robert Pattinson's case, we've never seen him act as Batman, but that doesn't mean he can't be Batman as an actor. But anyway. And lastly, the third big point they made, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is planned out 5 years ahead at any given time, but they have general ideas for much farther out than that.
Oh, man. Wouldn't you just pay just your life savings just to see that whiteboard of the general ideas, how far they go out? I would just love to know the maximum, like how far they've looked. I would really love to see, like, the game plan that Feige has had before they bought Fox. Like, did he have any roundabout ways to get there? Was he, like, sending like really nice gift baskets over to Fox to be like, hey, maybe let us use an X-Men once or twice, and like it didn't work. So like, we're just gonna buy your whole company. Man, I'd love to see those whiteboards.
But also, I mean, he not just they didn't use any X-Men, but like, hey, Sony, can we use Spider-Man? I mean, we know that's your biggest moneymaker. Let us use him and get you money. Like, how does he work those deals out? Like, it's just magical. And, what's on this list, what's going to be fast-tracked, what's going to be taken off the list as well. I would love to know I would want a monthly update is what I would love to have.
Yeah, his biggest bargaining chip for sure is let me do whatever I want and you'll make a lot of money. Like, I have 20 movies here that will prove I know what I'm doing. So he's got a lot of cachet out there in Hollywood for sure.
Have you heard of a little thing called Endgame?
Now, since this says MCU is planned out for 5 years at any given time, that makes me really excited for what may or may not transpire at Comic-Con this year. If Marvel is there at the panel, we could get one of those cool timelines that show the next 5 years of movies. That'll be crazy.
How early do I need to come out tomorrow to get in line for Hall H? Is that how this works?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna reach out to the internet community, some friends that I have out here that have been in the Hall H line. I need to know the nitty gritty. I need somebody that's gonna take the time to just answer every question I have, because I don't know the machinations of getting to that specific showing in Hall H. I have had some friends that have had luck just kind of getting in there on some smaller Hall H panels, but man, this is going to be exciting.
Let's find some details. Let's see if we can
exciting
work this
summer.
Yeah. Star Wars news, whether you either like this news or hate this news after this past month, the 2022 film, it will be written and directed by the Game of Thrones duo David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. That's either good or bad news, depending on how you feel about Season 8, man. So,
well, everyone's been saying Season 8 of Game of Thrones has been a very director-focused style of show and not really a writing forward, which is usually what happens in TV. Usually the writers are king and really form the story, and really the directors are almost ancillary. Like, usually directors kind of cut their chops in the directing world by directing like one episode of a random TV show somewhere. So the fact that the duo is going to be directing the movie, I definitely think they can handle it for sure. I mean, this is a big franchise, lots of moving parts. We've seen duos accomplish great things. Heck, we were just talking about the Russo brothers for the last couple minutes. So I'm okay and really confident that duos can handle it. I guess if people are really worried about the writing of what happened in Game of Thrones, the way I look at it is I think they were just burnt out. The fact that they wanted 2 years to make the final season and it's only 6 episodes long, it just seems like that they're ready to move on to other things. I like the idea that they're going to be fresh for a new franchise. And also, even though this is going to be written by them, this is going to be a long development cycle. So don't even think that they're going to have like the final say on what's in the script. They're going to pen the script. They're going to send it off to Kathleen Kennedy. You know, she's going to send it off to other people. Like, that script is going to go through so many layers of people. I'm positive that does not happen on Game of Thrones. They probably have the final say on the script of Game of Thrones, you know?
How would you tell that to people who feel negative about The Last Jedi then?
Oh, I mean,
they would have gone through the same workflow.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Maybe Kathleen Kennedy has sobered up, that maybe she needs to take things a little differently going forward.
So from what I've heard and read, and maybe what I agree with is these guys cannot write an original story to save their life. They're good at adapting stories, and that's what they've done with Game of Thrones so far until this last season, where they have no books to go off of, because there are no books to adapt. So do you think they will have to adapt the video game to make it good, the Old Republic, or...
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. They do have a source material to pull from there, but I don't know. I feel like it's hard to pigeonhole these guys and try to figure out what exactly, you know, went wrong. Just because, like, I feel like you can't write off these two creators just based on like maybe the last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones, because just remember, people, those first seasons of Game of Thrones, I've seen like this chart that everybody's sharing with like the weirdly drawn horse, where like the first 2 seasons look like a really good drawing of a horse, then the middle seasons are kind of sketchy, and the horse just has a weird face or whatever. But there are phenomenally exceptional seasons of Game of Thrones that these guys did create. So and they weren't directly 100% adapting the book, you know, they had to be creative and move things around. So I think just people are being extra angry because they really love a certain franchise that's on the screen now, and I guess maybe that's not going to change when it comes to Game of Thrones, but I'm more cautiously optimistic.
This sounds like a Star Wars catch-22 for people.
Yeah, I guess, right?
It's damned if you do and damned if you don't, because you're either going to get... Yeah, let them do what they want. You get Last Jedi haters again, or if you give them something to go off of, like, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, but if I had to be like really, really, really nerdy about it and really dive into it just for a second here, I would say the decisions that they've made in this last episode of Game of Thrones, I don't think are the wrong decisions. I don't think they've written a character the way they shouldn't be written, but we haven't had enough time to feel comfortable where they've gone, because the seasons have been so condensed and everything has gone so fast. So when a character does something really crazy, like, you know, kill a bunch of people, you're just like, whoa, that came out of nowhere. But then if you kind of think back, it's like, oh, I guess they were logically trying to get there. So I think that maybe on a longer development cycle of a movie franchise, I think they'll be just fine. I'm really not too worried about it.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to tell you, one of the writers wrote X-Men Origins Wolverine, so...
Yep. Chris, why'd you have to do that?
Because I want people to have the facts, Mike. I want them to have the facts.
No, you said that because you wanted to segue into our next topic. That's
actually,
why you
said I didn't have that pulled up, but he did. David Benioff wrote X-Men Origins Wolverine, so maybe he's improved. But Dark Phoenix is looking to open with a record low for the franchise at $50 million. Even Origins opened higher than this. And it's still pointing that June 7th, 2019. Tickets are on sales. Guess who hasn't bought them? These guys right here.
This is definitely going to be a movie where I go in and I get the slushy, I get the
Spider-Man popcorn
that I dip into the cheese, I sneak in my own candy, because I'm not paying $4 for a bag of candy. I'll sneak that in because I got pockets that can fit it.
You better get this. I'm gonna come out with purple like goo all over my face from that popcorn. I'm going straight in and out. I don't care.
The blue Mystique popcorn that they may or may not have.
The X-Men crowd, they can't judge me. They came there willingly. They can't judge what I look like walking out of there. So, looking like a low opening. Are you excited for it?
No, not at all.
Bingo.
But I would hope that the creators of this film realized that they had nothing to lose. Maybe that's the thing. I don't know exactly the timeline of the production of this movie. That when the first words for the script were being written, did that person know that Disney might be buying them and this is going to be the last film? So I would just like to know at what point in the development cycle where they're just like, screw it, we're not getting any more of these. Let's just go balls to the wall. So that's what I hope happens with this movie, is they just throw caution in the wind and do whatever the hell they want. You know,
they might. I mean, they've already showed they're going to kill Mystique off in the trailer, so can't hold anything back now, Mike. That's it right there. They're going all out. I'm not a big Star Trek fan, but I do like me some Professor Xavier. And he got his start doing Star Trek as Picard. Here's a screenshot from the upcoming series. He looks like he's Professor Xavier from Logan, or any Xavier movie really, with the black turtleneck and the
This is Captain Picard of the USS Enterprise. Remember that song?
Yeah.
Remember that song?
Yeah, no, I try to forget it.
You remember? I just thought of it because history was made. I guess I think this week. I think YTMND was officially shut down just recently. I don't know if it was exactly this week, but I remember that YTMND and that song and those gifs being mashed up. So this gives me fond memories of back in the day. But Captain Jean Picard. I'm not a Star Trek person. I think we've said that on the show a ton of times that we didn't watch the series growing up. So we don't have soft spots in our heart for the character necessarily. But I definitely don't have CBS All Access, and I don't really plan on paying for it anytime soon. I think they're going to need a bigger show outside of Star Trek to get me to subscribe if I ever do. So this might be something I never see, but I'm looking forward to the first trailer. I'll watch the trailer because that's not going to cost me, what is it? Is it $12 a month or are they cheaper? I don't remember what CBS
I've got it
was.
Pulled up right here. It just says free trial. It doesn't even have it doesn't even have a price on it.
I did the free trial during the Super Bowl, so I could stream the Super Bowl for free, and that trial ended. I don't remember how much it cost, but
I mean, yeah, I don't see it here at all. How much is it? Like, this is a lot of getting through nowhere.
They don't want you to know. They want you to get addicted to the free trial, and then once they bill you,
yeah,
that's when you find out.
I like to also point out, someone, friend of the show, Brian Smith, he pointed out that we lived through The Big Bang Theory, Mike. We made it through the whole series because it ended this week. And that was like one of the shows on CBS. I'm like, I really don't like it. So, but they have Star Trek. They had the new Twilight Zone on there, and I don't want to pay for this. You're right.
You know what? In defense of Big Bang Theory, I will say that similar to a lot of other TV shows out there in the world, the first few seasons of The Big Bang Theory, I think, are legitimately funny. I think they're a good live audience sitcom that you can get enjoyment out of for sure. It's just, it went on way too long. The jokes got less funny. I'm sure the writers' room changed quite a bit. It just wasn't for me anymore. But I am curious what happened in that very last episode, so maybe I'll try to find a way to watch it.
Well, I mean, it'll be on Hulu. I mean, all CBS stuff's on Hulu, right? So you should be able to find it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
It's $6 a month.
I looked it up too, but
with commercials.
A commercial-free option for $10. So there you go. Yeah. You're welcome, CBS, for the free advertisement.
We found your pricing. Haha, suck it. Anyway, Detective Pikachu 2. I've been working. I have 22 seasons of Pokemon TV shows on my hard drive. I was showing Mike this before the show starts, and that takes a lot for a 32-year-old man to admit to somebody out loud, especially all of our listeners. But I'm proud of my collection because when I go collect things, Mike, I go all out. I don't. Yeah,
that's true.
I don't just half-ass it. Look at my pop vinyls. I don't stop. It's a problem. But Detective Pikachu 2 is reportedly the sequel's being fast-tracked after the success of the first one. And this is a parallel of like Iron Man and Iron Man 2. And then they were going to set up the Pokemon world, the larger world after that, like working towards like. So like here's a safe one. Hey, here's another possibly safe one, and then we can go a little wild because we've made 2 safe movies.
I am so glad that you compared this to Iron Man 2 because what did I say when we talked about this movie the other week? I said this is the start of something big. This is the first Iron Man movie that we had just watched. I don't know how they're going to get Ryan Reynolds back into that Pikachu, but I'm looking forward to it happening, hopefully. I still have fond memories of that movie. Like, I know you said it's not a movie that you think you need to see again. Doesn't necessarily mean you didn't like it.
Yeah, of course.
I still think about funny scenes from that movie. It's like, I want to go back to that world so bad. So I'm totally on board with
one of the jokes I forgot to mention on a thing is when he's like, what is that? And he's like, silent but deadly. Like, he's like the Pikachu fart. He's like, I'm sorry. One of those things. I was like, that's a Pikachu fart joke. Like, this is all right. I'm cool with this. And then the darkness that immediately followed when they set Mr. Mime ablaze. So.
Oh, God. That was so great.
But anyway, the only bad news about this is Oren Uziel was reported earlier this year to be writing the film, and he's a writer for the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. And the trailer, everyone's focused on the design. I don't know if the movie's gonna. Like I said, I don't know if it hinges on that or not, but it didn't like strike me as what's going on. I don't know, but afterwards, I'm very excited because they're doing an adaptation of the video game Red and Blue for the movies. Now, wouldn't it be cool if they had a red and a blue version in theaters, and you could go watch both of them if you wanted to?
That actually would be really cool. Maybe each screening had like a different like end credit scene or something, or just like in the video games, maybe just if you're looking in the background, like different Pokemon are like rendered through the scene. That would actually be super cool. I love that idea. But the biggest question I would have about these is the best thing about Detective Pikachu is they skirted all of these really abstract ideas about living in a Pokemon world, and they just moved past it and just made a fun, entertaining movie. But how are you going to explain like why preteens or young kids are leaving their villages to train Pokemon, not going to school, not learning their times tables?
Well, I mean that's the thing. Like in that world, they don't care about that kind of stuff. But what if Detective Pikachu 2 leans into that? They send Tim and Detective Pikachu and Ryan Reynolds into that world to solve a mystery of maybe a missing kid or something along that line. So they ease you into it before they jump you into some movie.
I mean, that might be a good idea. And maybe they just kind of change the world to suit the film a little bit better. Maybe like little kids aren't allowed to run off and do like Pokemon. Maybe it's a thing like you have to graduate high school first before you can go out and do that. That makes a little bit more sense for really the world at large. You can't just abandon everything to go fight Pokemon. So, it's going to be really interesting to see what Pokemon eat. That's one thing I've always wanted to know. Like in the games, they eat berries, but I'm pretty sure...
You need to get into my Plex server and watch this because there's a character named Brock who is the gym leader. I think you remember in Viridian City. Yeah?
I'm very familiar with Brock, yeah.
Well, but in the show, he goes along with Ash and Misty, and he wants to raise Pokemon, and he makes food for them specifically. So
yes, but you know for sure that there's a Charizard out there in the world that's like eating Rattatas, right?
That's fine. That's cool.
They're being eaten alive, so
that
would be. I mean, if they can go as far as to imaginatively light Mr. Mime on fire, I would love to see a scene where there's like a small Pokemon that runs into a bush, and then a giant Charizard just runs into that bush and like furiously moves his muzzle around, and then he turns his head and he like licks his lips afterwards. So it's just like allude to the idea that Pokemon are prey, can be eaten by larger Pokemon, but maybe we don't necessarily need to see it.
I think you're going way too easy. Because they don't have cows and chickens like we do, Mike. So you're literally eating cow Pokemon meat and like bird Pokemon meat in your stuff. So
it makes me want to rewatch Detective Pikachu, and I'm sure that there's food in that movie. I haven't seen it. I don't recall seeing it, but maybe like everybody in the Pokemon universe is vegan, but they don't call it vegan. They're just like, well, why would we eat Pokemon? They fight and like we make them fight each other.
They got personality.
It'd be a little too rude if we ate them also. They're already slaves that fight. So
yeah, I don't know. There's a lot they can do with Pokemon, and they have 20-something years to pull from.
Tip of the iceberg, Chris.
Yeah. Tip of that iceberg. But that's a show for this week. We've gone a little long, so I am ready to get out here and get some errands done. Mike, if people know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at this week?
Well, as always, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, people want to catch up with you, see what you're doing, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, also Instagram, Valdan87. Head over to Comic UI. If people want to listen to our regular reviews, like our Detective Pikachu review that we just kind of spoiled a little bit here in that last segment, where can they find that at?
As always, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. So we talked about that first image of Picard. We got the Batwoman teaser trailer. We got the His Dark Materials trailer. We got all of this itemized very nicely in our show notes. So if you want to find that, just visit superheroslate.com. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and the Gram. And you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. We want to know what you think about the things that we're talking about. Do you think my voice is annoying and you're sad to hear me come back after my trip? I know you're just we have some fun fans out there that just like to mess with me, but I still love all you guys.
Yeah. I'm glad you read that, because I read it. I laughed and laughed and laughed.
I'm glad that there was an LOL JK after that, or I just would have been sad forever. So obviously you can reach out through the YouTube comments. We love hearing from everybody. And if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we will be here every week. Chris, what's our next spoiler cast coming out? Is that Spider-Man Homecoming, or do we have another big movie that's coming soon?
There's probably something in June, to be completely honest, but I could not tell you. Maybe we'll do one on Godzilla. No, we won't do one on Godzilla. I don't know what our next one is.
We might do one on Godzilla. Who knows?
Yeah. Honestly, we're pretty fair game until Spider-Man at this point. But I mean, if anyone has anything they want us to go over and we happen to watch it, I'm just looking here. Dark Phoenix, duh. We forgot X-Men. We got to do that one. So if you want to hear us rip on X-Men Dark Phoenix for 30, 45 minutes next month, tune in for that, because I can already predict how that's going to go. So all right, anything else, Mike?
No, that's it.
All right, well, we'll catch you guys next week.
All right, adios.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Like, I feel claustrophobic. I feel like I'm going to drown. I'm scared of these animals. I don't know what's happening.